Hey everybody, it's a special PGA Championship edition of the ShackHouse. We're going to talk about the final major of the season, a little bit about Steph Curry, about the career Grand Slam that Jordan Spieth is pursuing, and of course, we have picks and a great guest in Amanda Balionis. But first, a word from our good friends at Callaway. You know, the Epic is the hottest thing since sliced bread. This PGA Championship preview episode is brought to you, of course, by the hottest club on the planet Earth, the Epic driver from Callaway, featuring, you know what, the jailbreak technology for big-time ball speed. It's the #1 selling driver of 2017. If you haven't gone out and tried the Epic driver from Callaway, get in the car right now and hit it today.
Podcast friends, we are also happy to bring you this word from SeatGeek. You know that buying tickets to sports and concerts can be complicated and confusing, but there is a better and simpler way to buy, and that is with SeatGeek. They have the seamless mobile experience that permits you to buy and sell tickets in just 2 taps. That's 2 taps. There's nothing quite like seeing your favorite team or musician in person, and SeatGeek will get you closer to the action for a great value. It saves you time and money, my friends, by searching multiple ticket sites to compare prices and find amazing deals. SeatGeek also has plenty, I say plenty, of concert, comedy, and theater tickets available too. Best of all, the ShackHouse listeners get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. To get that $20 rebate on tickets, download the SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab and click add a promo code. Enter promo code HOUSE. That's HOUSE, HOUSE. SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the SeatGeek app, enter promo code HOUSE today. Make SeatGeek your go-to ticket source for all things PGA, golf, and beyond. And now, my friends, let's go to the ShackHouse on the Ringer Podcast Network.
Greetings from Charlotte House. How you doing today? I understand you've already got a house of carbs in the can. Now you're ready to talk some golf, I would suspect.
Shaq Daddy, I'm the hardest working man in the podcast business, but I will not let any of these other pursuits get in the way of our allocation of capital.
Hey, we have breaking news as we kick off the ShackHouse. The PGA Championship will be moving to May, and it will be the second major championship starting in 2019. So maybe, just maybe, somebody at the PGA of America will realize it doesn't need a slogan. I don't know. It's just a thought, but we've always felt like it was a little tacky. So it's something I don't quite understand why they felt the need to have and they put it everywhere too. And then Jim Nantz used to say it, and he's so happy not to have to say it anymore. So yes, they're moving to May, starting in 2019. So no more ass sweating. After Bellerive next year, you won't see people ready to pass out.
With soaking wet shorts? Oh, they're not soaking wet pants.
Pants. Well, now, you just touched, you know what? We're going to nail 2 topics right off the bat that we hadn't planned on it. You know the players can wear shorts in the practice rounds now. The PGA announced this. I forgot about it. And I just looked up at my screen, and there was Jordan Spieth in shorts hitting range balls with Cameron McCormick on Monday at Quail Hollow. Not sure I'm a fan of the look myself, to be honest with you. It's a major.
They're grown men. They're allowed to wear shorts.
Excuse me. It's major, not a major. Got to get my slogans right. I don't like it. They don't look like pro. It's like a baseball player coming out in batting practice wearing shorts, and it doesn't look professional to me.
It's Monday. What do you want them to do? It's Monday in North Carolina. It's August in North Carolina, and it's Monday. I don't understand.
It's their thing, and next year at Bellerive, where it'll be twice as hot, they'll be able to do it. And then after that, we'll be in May, and everybody will be wearing sweaters and trying to stay warm. So we got 2 important pieces of news out of the way very quickly there, which I'm glad. And we'll kick around the May ramifications more as we'll have a press conference Tuesday, but also this is a 2-pronged trade. This is this is you, Darvish, and I'm sorry, I won't go there.
Don't you dare.
There's bartering going on here, and there's a lot more we have to find out. So the May thing will be an interesting topic. But let's talk about Steph Curry, because we didn't really get into him too much last week. I'll be honest, I was a little nervous about what would happen there, and I am so pleased, really, in so many different ways, about the way he performed up in the Ellie Mae Classic on the Web.com Tour. And yes, we're going to talk about the Web.com Tour before we talk about a major, because I just think this was really a special thing. And I'm not sure if the greater sporting public, sports fan, if you will, appreciates what he just did. Do you? Is that your sense?
I agree with you. Part of that, I think, has to do with the time of year that it is. It's August. It's clearly for Steph. He's been in the public eye a fair amount after the Warriors won the championship. He went to China. He's all over the social media making fun of LeBron's dance and workout moves. I mean, he stayed plenty busy.
Yeah.
This golf thing caught the attention of the golf public and was of interest to the golf public. And some of the scolds came out of the woodwork to complain about the slot that he was taking that might have gone to some other hardworking gentleman. Yes. Very quick aside, Shaq. Help me with some very basic golf economics.
Yeah,
I need a golf economics lesson. If you're a professional, are you playing for money? Is that what that means in golf?
That is correct.
Because in other walks of life, when you're called a professional, that means you make money. You earn money doing that thing.
That is correct.
So this tournament with these professionals in it, the way that they make their money, help me again, golf economics 101 here, is by sponsors who are typically corporate citizens, companies that want to come in and attach themselves to this golf tournament for the purposes of raising and elevating the profile of their business. Am I right still?
You're still right.
Okay. All right. So a golf economics 101, the point for the sponsor who pays the money that goes in the pockets of the players is always to elevate the profile to the extent that it can and still preserve, the integrity of the tournament and the competition. All of that is basically right, I think. So the idea of getting somebody who has a legitimate golf pedigree onto the golf course to perform and perhaps take an otherwise quiet moment on a second tier tour. And I don't mean anything pejorative by second tier. It's just not the PGA Tour.
Right.
And create across the sports world, not just in the walks of golf life, although the golf world was on fire with it, but in all other kinds of sport, lots of folks on social media and otherwise talking about Steph Curry's performance, a ton of eyes, and notwithstanding all of the interest in it, Golf TV couldn't figure out a way to capture this. We had, best we had was ESPN in a walk-along kind of way, showing some stuff. But, it was an incredible opportunity for one of the top 10 most well-known athletes on the planet to take on this sport that we know and love. And he performed beautifully. But there was still this undercurrent of scolding and chiding because of this notion, this completely fantastical idea that he was depriving somebody of some kind of opportunity.
Yes, well, this is kind of the atmosphere we've got with pro golf at the moment, and it always has been the case where the players maybe get a little bit isolated and they lose sight of the big picture. So they only think about playing opportunities and they don't think about what they do as an entertainment product. And that's where we get some of that. You also have had pro athletes before play on exemptions and not play very well. The difference, though, in this case is that this is somebody who is in his prime, who just won his second championship, and is really doing things that are really quite astounding. And he just then, after less than 2 months after winning that championship, took out his clubs and beat three guys the first round who have actually won tournaments this year on, and you hate to call it the minor leagues or the AAA of golf, but it is. But that's a compliment. It's a great minor. This is not the D League. This is more prestigious, I think, in a sense, and that's why I like the AAA analogy. And to go out and do that, and maybe that's part of the problem too, House, is a lot of people in sports just don't know what the Web.com Tour is. That may have hurt the cause as well. I thought the neatest thing, though, the best observation was Ricky Fowler, who pointed out that golf has some good athletes these days, and DJ and Gary Woodland could go out and play in a pickup game and look pretty athletic and not too bad. But if you put them on an NBA court, they'd look like idiots. They'd look ridiculous. But I mean, he didn't use those exact words, but that was the point. They're good athletic guys, but you put them in the NBA game and they look foolish. You put Steph Curry with guys who are really, really good golfers, some of whom will be on the PGA Tour, some have already been on the PGA Tour, and who are playing incredible golf week to week. And he didn't look ridiculous. He fit in. His swing's a little different than a pro golfer swing, but I think that was really a profound way to kind of encapsulate what he pulled off in doing this. Oh, and the other thing I loved, of course, House, for him to be so upfront about what that meant on the first tee, how nervous he was, how he lost the feeling in his hands. To have other athletes hear that, I think, is just so important to really instilling some respect for golf and what it is as a sport.
The psychological challenge that golf presented for him and to him, and the size and scope of that challenge is really indescribable unless you're hearing it from a guy like Steph Curry, who's achieved so much in his chosen athletic pursuit, and is also compensated in a way that none of these guys on tour, including the PGA Tour, can imagine being compensated. Yeah. And he talked about losing the sensation, and it was both days. He talked about the psychological challenge he was confronted by, and the sheer sort of nerves of it all. I think one thing that helped is he has played competitive golf before, where that might distinguish him from some of other athletes. Now, it was in high school, but I just found you know what kind of pressure he is under performing on the stage that he performs on the basketball court, and for him to be that candid about the nerves he felt on the golf course, that was the coolest aspect to me.
Yeah, and then he's out fist bumping the kids, and he did the press every day. I mean, it was sensational. And the TV thing, we won't go down that rat hole. I did a post explaining why Golf Channel didn't do it, why the PGA Tour blew it, and if you want to go to JeoffShackelford.com, I have a post up explaining all that, but we don't want to go there. We have history on the line this week, House.
We really do.
And also, this is another one, I think, speaking to the general sports audience, I'm not sure. And I'll admit, I even after doing some reading today on the plane, and I wrote a piece for Golf Week, getting into the dynamics of the career Grand Slam. I'm not sure how much people realize how incredible this feat would be if Jordan Spieth were to capture all four majors at an age younger than anybody else, and do it this week, which he has that opportunity to do. This is his one opportunity to do it as the youngest person to ever do it. He obviously will have many more opportunities if he stays healthy to win a PGA and get his fourth major. But is that your sense as well, that maybe the greater sports world doesn't quite know what's on the line here?
I think we're going to build up to it because, it's only Monday of the sports week, and we have, all the way up till Thursday before the tournament begins. I bet, come Wednesday, the buzz for this and what the moment represents will build, and we'll start seeing it because, it is a very quiet time on the sports calendar. It's not like golf is competing with much else right now. But, the Monday of a major is always, a moment to hear a little bit about how the course looks and what the weather forecast looks like. Sure. And the odds haven't really, you have your best odds now. We'll talk about that. Don't wait till Wednesday to get on some of your wagerings. But I bet by Wednesday it'll be in the mainstream sports media mouth.
Well, let me just go through a couple of the reasons why I think this is such a big accomplishment. And, we had a conference call with CBS last week. Jim Nantz said it would be one of the greatest accomplishments in the history of the game. And I was like, wow, and he was saying it in a way he wasn't just promoting the telecast and wanting people to watch. He took us through how he went to St. Andrews when Tiger had his chance and then did succeed at St. Andrews to capture the career Grand Slam. So none of us know about a career Grand Slam because of tennis. 8 people have done it in tennis, and I think it's a lot harder to do in golf. But what's cool about it is we have something similar with tennis. we have the different surfaces, if you will, with the four majors having different presentations. Some people have argued that they've gotten too similar. The irony is that the course Jordan Spieth won the U.S. Open on was firmer and faster than the one he just won the Open Championship on. So if you want to try to claim he won on a linksy U.S. Open, well, he won on a pretty soft Open Championship course. So to me, it kind of balances out. But I think what I love about the Career Grand Slam is that it's kind of been a mark of longevity, consistency, in theory, a player's ability to adapt to the different courses and to be lucky, let's be honest. So to do it at a young age, younger than anybody, is fascinating. But then when you really go through and look at the people, House, who've won the Career Grand Slam, very few of them have really known what they were doing. And I don't want to be knocking Gene Sarazen or Ben Hogan, two of the five, but really the concept of the Grand Slam as we know it now didn't exist. And Sam Snead, who famously pursued it and came up short, he was really just wanting to win the U.S. Open as an American. It wasn't as much a Grand Slam concept. So I think when you whittle it down, it started around Palmer's time, and Gary Player was the first to kind of really be proud of winning a Grand Slam, and Jack Nicklaus pursued it, and he did it. And then, of course, we had Arnold Palmer with all the heartbreak in the PGA Championship, missing a few opportunities, and he knew what he was going after because he went over to the Open Championship and reinvigorated the Open and kind of made that modern Grand Slam. It really is another thing that Arnold Palmer kind of helped crystallize. And so my point is, really, we have three people who've won the Grand Slam knowing what they had to do. And Tiger Woods did it at a time when people were really watching. So for Spieth now to pursue this, he will be doing it with, with Rory McIlroy and Phil Mickelson also trying it in different events. But the difference is they're doing it with people watching and kind of looking at their watch going, well, when are you going to do this? This is exciting. And so I think that adds a whole dimension to it that's fascinating. And then you look at the guys who have come close. The names are incredible. There's 11 others besides Spieth, but Trevino, Palmer, Watson, Sam Snead, Mickelson, McIlroy have all kind of agonized in a way, or I think Rory's moving. I think a few more Masters he doesn't win. It's going to start to get awkward. It's going to be this. It's the one he can't win. Of course, it's a wonderful problem to have in life. So
I agree with you.
So those are my reasons on why the Grand Slam I think is so fascinating. And then when you couple it with somebody at a young age having a chance to do it. That said, I think this is oddly the hardest one for Spieth. I don't think it's that hard because he finished second at Whistling Straits, but his strength is not necessarily overpowering and making a lot of birdies, which the PGA can be in August. He tends to feed off a firmer, faster course or a course that requires kind of plodding your way around. And I don't know. We'll see what Quail Hollow poses, but I'm not sensing that that's the kind of test that it'll be. I hope I'm wrong. We'll see.
Well, I think Spieth he demonstrated. You mentioned his performance at Whistling Straits, so he has the chops because that season. That 2015 season after winning the Masters and the U.S. Open, he was right there until the road hole at St. Andrews.
Yeah,
at making his way into the playoff in the Open Championship, and he was right there as they teed off on the final round of the 2015 PGA at Whistling Straits, and he just got a little bit, run over by Day. Not a lot of bit, but Jason Day just had, an fiery hot, white hot game that day. Spieth was there with him, shot for shot through 3 rounds.
Exactly, and that's why you have to get lucky sometimes because look, you can go through a lot of these, and people ran into buzzsaws like that. Jordan Spieth was 17 under in a PGA Championship and didn't win.
Right.
So you do have to get lucky, and I think that's part of the kind of the thrill of it. And but they had the replay last week of the PGA Championship. The last time it was held in North Carolina in 1974, and Lee Trevino won, and it was really cool. But the first thing he said, First thing out of his mouth is, well, now I've got 3 legs. And, I guess I'm going to, at the time he was bickering with Augusta National and didn't like Clifford Roberts, and he had passed on a few Masters, and he basically said, I'm going to, go back there because I want to win the Grand Slam. And then he, of course, later in his career always lamented that he had such a poor attitude about Augusta, and it probably cost him a chance to win there and then win the career Grand Slam, because it really does say something about your career that you could adapt to all these surfaces, if you will, of golf. So, anyway, I think it's really exciting. I hope he gives it a shot, and he's downplayed it appropriately. But I'm sure deep down he knows that it'd be an incredible thing to be able to do. He's a historian. He's well aware of all these things.
Of course, no, he's done an excellent job of conveying and communicating in his press conferences and the like, where he's acutely aware of his place in history and the achievement, where his achievements so far stand in relation to the peers that he seeks to be among. The interesting thing is, I don't think he's going to win this week. So we'll have an opportunity to go through our picks.
Lovely note. Let's say a few words. Let's get to our picks, and then we'll get to Amanda, who's got some good insights on Quail Hollow and the telecast, which has some exciting things to debut this week. CBS going all in. We'll discuss that. But first, House, our friends,
talk to me, Chef.
At Odyssey Golf. Yeah, the number 1 putter in golf. They continue to dominate with the most worldwide putter wins. Of course, now Odyssey's coming out with the new O-Works Red and the O-Works Black putters, beautiful putters with additional head shapes. And, of course, our good friend, the Micro Hinge Insert. They're now in stores from Odyssey, the number 1 putter in golf, and maybe on the ShackHouse.
Oh, yeah. Look, Shaq, we cannot have the last major tournament of the season go by without another outstanding giveaway. Your good friends at the ShackHouse, in collaboration with the good people at Odyssey, we are giving away 1 each of these beauties, the Odyssey Red and the Odyssey Black. Here's how you can win. The Odyssey Red, we have an In the Red contest this week. Please, you guys did a very good job of this, going to JeoffShackelford.com. So Geoff will put up, after the podcast goes live, he'll post some show notes. Go to his site, go to the entry with the show notes, and in the comments there, put your name in. We need 2 things from you for the In the Red. This is to win the Odyssey Red. We need what the cut line is going to be and how many people make the cut. So that's just like the Open Championship. We had the same contest. If there are multiple folks with the same correct entry, we're going to choose from random out of a nice Callaway hat. We'll choose a random winner out of the guys that get that information correct. So that's how you get at the Odyssey Red. Go to JeoffShackelford.com, the show notes to underneath today's show, and enter in cut line, number of guys that made the cut.
So cut line score, 36-hole score, and the number of guys to make the cut.
Exactly right.
Okay.
That's In the Red. That's how you get it an Odyssey Red. For the black putter, Shaq, we're being very generous with this one. We want to know who you think the winner is going to be and what the winning score is going to be, but we're going to let you make your entry, post your entry, and only 1 entry each, please. You can go ahead and submit an entry for the red and an entry for the black, but please do not put in multiple entries underneath each, multiple guesses. We will find your email, track you down, and excommunicate you from the Callaway community.
Well, that's a little strong, but yeah, we will disqualify. So
disqualify, right. So we need, for the Callaway Black, you have until 12 noon, this Saturday. So the 3rd round will already be underway. You can submit an entry for the Odyssey Black putter contest all the way up till 12 noon on JeoffShackelford.com in the comments section. Just put in the subject line, entry for Odyssey Black. We need to know the name of the winner and the winning score, and we need your email so we can track you down to give you this beauty if you win. All the way up till 12 noon Friday. Geoff and I will both be posting on Twitter and our social media the deadlines for the entries. We need for the Odyssey Red, you have until midnight Wednesday night For the Odyssey Black, you have till 12 noon on Saturday. 2 contests because we want our listeners to win.
I love it. I'm excited. I like that we're going to give people a chance to see what happens for 2 rounds and then pick a winner.
Yeah, that's fun, right?
Yeah, it's more fun. Let's be honest, because it's just you just never know this time of year.
Well, how about that segue, Shaq?
Yeah, how about that? Now, I of course we have some obvious picks this week, but I think what's fun about Quail Hollow is we have a golf course that we have some track records on. It's like for me, it was like reading the daily racing form, getting to look and see who's run well over this track. Now there are caveats, so we have to make sure people know that they've made changes to the golf course. They have changed the grasses. So there's some warm season grasses here. Just in time for Quail Hollow's next PGA to probably have to change grasses again back to when it's played in May. But anyway, that's their problem, not ours. So no, I hear it's in good shape. They have a superintendent here, and but just keep that in mind that some of these players who have track records at Quail Hollow in the Wells Fargo or the Wachovia Championship, as it was previously called, are going to see some new things and new holes. And Tom Fazio has changed more holes, and I have not heard rave reviews to date from players who liked the old course. But we'll see what happens as they get here and they eat the great food that Johnny Harris serves up, and he knows how to take care of them. So you won't hear much complaining, even if they don't like it. But so obviously you've written off Jordan Spieth. So and I understand why. I'm assuming it's his only one appearance at Quail Hollow, and that it seems like it's going to favor some long, fairly straight driving, 2 things that are probably not his greatest strengths. I'm assuming that's your theory?
And I just to be fair, I would never write off Jordan Spieth.
Me neither.
That feels disrespectful. I'm not writing off anybody. I just think the way we're sitting here on a Monday, the way this tournament feels, I'm leaning in a different direction. I would never write off Jordan Spieth because that feels disrespectful to me.
Do we need to discuss Hideki Matsuyama? I think it's rather obvious he's just a prime contender in every way. He's playing a little better every year in the PGA. He's played every year he's played at Quail Hollow. He's gotten a little bit better. We don't need to. Let's
just say to the listening public, if you're building teams and you have a chance in your fantasy league, or maybe it's through a draft or something, to put Rory McIlroy on your team, or Hideki Matsuyama on your team, or Ricky Fowler on your team, you should do that, because all those guys have both the track record and the current form that suggests that they're entirely capable of winning. One thing in particular about Ricky, not just his outstanding performance quietly, if you can say that, about his 2017. He's very high up in all of the strokes gained categories, especially putting. But he shot a very quiet 67-66 this weekend at Firestone. So I'm pretty sure he's in pretty good form. Yeah. But I don't want to belabor any of those guys. They're all great picks. You know how I approach this. We're looking for value. We're looking for value, exactly. And value starts to jump off the page when you see guys on the board here at prices like 7.5 to 1. That's what you have. That's what you get for Jordan. 7.5 to 1 for Rory. DJ 12 to 1. Hideki 12 to 1. But I can just slide down a little bit, and at double that price, I can have Brooks Koepka. Now, Brooks Koepka, interesting, not a big track record at Quail Hollow, but not necessarily a disqualifier. No, because Quail Hollow has had this tendency to produce some breakthrough wins. In fact, also, let's be honest, some inconsistency. You look and see even the guys who've played well here. You'll just see a random miscut or a random bad finish, and you're right. It's not the track record is not the be all end all of this course. And we have 2 of the names that we just mentioned. Both Rory McIlroy and Ricky Fowler obtained first wins at this venue. Yes. So breakthrough winner is an A-OK trait to consider as you sort of assess the situation here. Now, Koepka's not a breakthrough winner because he kicked ass at the U.S. Open and then had a T6 at the Open Championship after basically taking a month off. So that's talent through the years, and I like talent through the years at this delicious price of 25-1.
Okay,
that's one name I'm sharing with you, Shaq.
Give me more.
The next name for you, and I love this price. I just it's a wonderful price, and the folks will hear a little tidbit from Amanda Balionis about this guy. I am loving Jon Rahm at 28-1. He had an outstanding driving performance over the weekend at Firestone. Perhaps not the very best iron performance this past weekend at Firestone, but this is a guy that's been around the hoop. Now, I don't think that we are at a moment where we disqualify him from all majors because of what he's shown to date. He had a blow-up round at the Masters. He had a blow-up round at the U.S. Open. He was never going to win at Birkdale. It's just not his style of play and not his style of golf course, I don't think. But this kind of venue with the attributes that we keep hearing about, long and accurate off the tee, ball strikers, big hitters, the course has been lengthened. There's rain in the forecast. It's wet already. Jon Rahm is a guy who to me, with his aggressive style of play,
I thought you were going to
have
dig
that
a little
breakthrough.
Deeper than the number. I think he's number 5 or 6 in the world now.
Well, he's 28-1, so wonderful value for me.
Okay, come on.
I have 2 other names.
All right, I'm waiting for some shock value here.
You want to go deep? I don't think any of this is shocking. At
okay.
80-1, former winner at Quail Hollow. I don't remember whether it was the Wachovia or the Wells Fargo at the time that he won it. 80-1, J.B. Holmes, another great big bomber. What's wrong with that?
No, that was going to be one of my deep down the list picks.
I mean,
no.
And the last guy that I have
wait, let's not leave JB yet. Yeah,
go ahead. Well, let's hear why you liked him.
I just like the fact that he has the win here. He had a top 10 at the Greenbrier. He played nicely at the U.S. Open at Erin Hills, a very long golf course. He made the cut at the Open. Fine at the Canadian. He's just kind of chugging along. He didn't get off to the best start earlier in the year, and I like all that. I like that if this golf course ends up playing long, he's obviously somebody who knows how to hit the ball a long way. He just has to kind of get his iron play and putting in gear. Those numbers are a little bit weak, but yeah, in Golf Week's 10 to watch, I had him on the list. He's a great short game guy, great recovery player around the greens. He's grown up playing in the heat and Bermuda grass. So I just liked all those kinds of things about him, and that his form is not spectacular, but it's also very solid.
That's a nice segue into my last. Now, this is a little bit of a long shot. 100-1. I'm taking a look at Tony Finau. Okay. And the reason that I'm looking at him, it feels like of all the majors, the one he's most likely to have a breakthrough on is the PGA. He was on the leaderboard in 2015 at Whistling Straits for quite a while, and his power and his ability to create opportunities through his length is well established. At 100-1, I like Mr. Finau.
Okay. Now we didn't talk about Kevin Chappell, who we've discussed multiple times, who we like. I think he was 70-1 the last time I looked. He has a decent record at Quail Hollow. He's got a couple of top 15s. He's playing very well, as we know. He's played consistently well at Quail, which isn't always the norm with some of these guys. Charlie Hoffman, who we'll talk about with Amanda Balionis, who's obviously red hot. House, what are you seeing his number at? Last I looked, he was at 50-1, which seemed incredible given he's just finished second and third, and he's in his last 6 starts. He's got all these top 10s, and
yeah, I'm seeing him at 50-1.
Okay, wow, that's a great value. And then let me give you the super great value, and mercifully we're going to name one guy from our show sponsor, Callaway, Danny Lee, who I think is in well over 100-1, maybe 125.
Yeah, he did not show up on any of my lists as I did my research for this.
Oh, okay. Well, he's got a ninth T9 and a 13th in his last two starts at Quail, and he's been playing steadily. So I'll just double check if he didn't come up in any of your.
Well, look, I have him down here at 200 to 1.
There you go.
I just added him. Here's my list. I'm going to read off some names for you of my top 20 guys. So if you're looking to round out.
Fantasy teams and all that. I mean, that's why we
daily fantasy. I'm going to bet these guys, all of them for top 20s because I think they're all plus odds.
All Danny 20 Lee, of them?
No, I have 6.
Okay.
And 4 of them are based on form, and 2 of them are based on chops. So you just said Charlie Hoffman. He's getting one of my top 20 bets. Zach Johnson, he's getting a top 20 bet. Daniel Berger, who I wouldn't be surprised to see win. But I'm definitely making a top 20 bet on him. He finished inside the top 20 the one time he's played at Quail Hollow, and he had a great driving performance over his 4 rounds. He had a T17. The other 2 guys, I just added Danny Lee, and then Mark Leishman paid off quite nicely with the top 20 at the Open Championship. I'm going to ride him again, another guy with pedigree, and then Thomas Peters, who showed through three rounds at Firestone, his chops and his ability to get off the tee.
he got a little fiery again on the weekend at Firestone.
I love it.
I do too, but I the problem I have is watching it. There's fiery, and then there's fiery that's starting to detract from your ability to score. All right. Well, I think we've given people some good names there to look at. And we're also going to give you some insights from Amanda Balionis, the media correspondent for Callaway Media Productions. And, of course, she used to work at the PGA Tour and did wonderful recaps that you could watch on YouTube and fun stuff like that. And then she moved to Callaway, and Callaway has kindly allowed her to take on this new role this year with CBS that kind of came out of nowhere. They have a cart that's sponsored, I think, by Microsoft. And to me, House, it's really added something to the telecast. We've been very tough on CBS at times. They've felt very flat. And they're all in this week, House. Not only are they in with Amanda doing her interviews that I think are just better interviews. The players seem more at ease. They're looking at something visual. When there's a highlight, they're just able to look at it instead of looking for some monitor or having the reporter describe to them what they're supposed to be seeing. They're getting them a few minutes after they've been come off the course, which has helped them cool off a little sometimes. And then Amanda just has a great way about her. So her incorporation of stats and all that's great. But CBS is all in this week. They're going big time on the Tech House because somebody's contract is up. Oh, isn't that funny how that works? Yeah, so the PGA of America's contract with CBS and TNT goes through 2019, and amazingly, it's already 2017, how time flies. And so just not coincidentally, in my view, they are upping the ante a little bit, and we're going to see them go all in this week with TrackMan and Tracers. And
I welcome it. I'm looking forward to it.
Anyway, so we're going to cover a few things with Amanda, and let's get to that conversation with the senior media correspondent for Callaway Media Productions and, of course, for TNT and CBS, Amanda Balionis. All right. Well, joining us now in the ShackHouse, Amanda Balionis. Amanda, thank you so much. You are in Charlotte. You're near Quail Hollow. Thank you for finally coming on the show. Congratulations on all of your visibility and success this year.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for having me on. I know I've been torturing you guys about it for about the last year. So I'm happy that I finally made it.
Yeah, well, we decided we'd put you to work because we're excited about this PGA Championship for a number of reasons, right, House? I think we are. I am, yeah.
So, Balionis, let's be honest here. It's not simply a matter of an invite by us to you to come on to the ShackHouse. we have to track you down. I mean, I don't know where in these United States of America to find you any given week.
I gotta be honest, sometimes I forget what city I'm going to when I get to the airport. They say, "What's your final destination?" And I've had to look it up on my phone a couple of times. But it's been really fun traveling this much, especially with CBS.
Are they a fun group to hang out with? They've embraced you?
Oh, they are the absolute best. And I talk about this all the time. You never know what to expect. You see these names like the Lance Barrows and the Jim Nances and the Dottie Peppers and Peter Costas. You see these names so often, and you watch them on TV, and it can kind of feel intimidating. But the moment I walked in, they were just the most welcoming group. And the coolest thing about CBS is that the majority of people, from everyone, from graphics to the catering trucks to the directors, everyone's been there for 30 plus years, which I think speaks to the culture of CBS. I mean, people just love working with this group. It's such a family out on the road. So they've been amazing and kind of embracing me. I get the rookie hazing once in a while, the hard time, but so far it has not been that bad.
The trade-off is that you're getting golf lessons from Peter Costas, right? I mean, let's be honest.
Oh my gosh. So I've only had one lesson with Costas so far, and it was the most grueling lesson I've ever had. I mean, I've been taking golf lessons since I was probably 8 years old. And when I saw him on the range and he said, "All right, Balionis, let's take a look at your swing." So, I took my swing. And I think generally people are pretty nice because they know, we're amateurs, we just kind of hack it around. And usually people say, "Wow, that's a pretty good swing." He goes, "Oh, we have a lot to work on," and proceeded to just change everything in my swing for the next hour. And I was so sore the next day. But I mean, he's an incredible teacher. You understand just from listening to him on television when he breaks down with the swing vision. You understand how great he is at it. But when he's really talking to you and giving you these visual cues of ways to execute in ways that you never thought you could, it really becomes apparent why he has risen to the level that he has.
Now, one thing that's happened on these telecasts, Amanda, is that you have, in a sense, taken a little bit of the job away from Peter and Dottie sometimes of interviewing the players in their group. And I got to be honest with you, I'm probably guessing they're not too brokenhearted about that, because it seems like so many of those post-round interviews were so unnecessarily chippy or awkward, or there was something I think about sometimes you get a player after the round. But when you've been interviewing, what I'm so impressed by is how much more relaxed the setting is. And I know that's you doing that. I think the cart helps. But you're also getting them a few minutes after they've had a chance to cool off. But yeah. Tell us a little bit about what that's like, because I think it's really, really added great energy to the telecasts. And also, I just enjoy the things you're doing with stats and visuals and all that good stuff. But kind of tell us how it came about and what you like and don't like about those interviews.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with Dottie and Peter, and what a lot of people maybe don't see or really fully comprehend when you're just watching the telecast, is first of all, how hard their jobs are. I mean, they are out there walking, miles and miles a day, following sometimes up to 3 to 4 different groups. And they have to know every single guy's game. They have to be in the right position. They have to not only call the shots, but then be able to, continue talking about these players and their job is just so hard. So I think what I was able, hopefully, to alleviate from them is that need to, "Hey, Dottie, I know that you're walking with group so-and-so, but we need you to get to scoring because all of a sudden 2 groups ahead, someone's done something and we need to get that interview," and that's just, you can't ask someone to be in a million different places at one time. So I think what the great thing about the smart card is it gives us the availability for Dottie and Peter to do their job, which they are tremendous at, to the best of their ability without having to feel like, "Oh gosh, am I going to get pulled in, another direction even still, you know what I mean?" So I think the great thing about that is that I now have the sole responsibility, and my team, work with some great producers as well, of being able to collect the guys' stats and get their highlights together and be able to really bring a guy in and create more of a relaxed environment, and like you mentioned, it makes it a lot easier to have those tough interviews when I'm not the one saying, "Hey, Dustin Johnson, tell me about that terrible shot you hit in the water on 13. Now I can just say, hey, Dustin, we're going to take a look at this shot on 13. You tell me what happened. And that does make it easier, I think, for everyone to talk about. The players don't feel like we're attacking them. When you're showing them stats, whether they're really great or they're not so great, I think they're very open to the fact that, hey, yeah, here's something I clearly need to work on, or hey, yeah, this is something I did really well today, and it's not me bragging because you're showing it right here on the board. So I think it just kind of opens up that communication a little bit better and makes them feel more relaxed than maybe just a regular interview where they're not sure what's coming up next.
Well, and I appreciate that watching it because, and House knows I've told him this, that it seems like the players are more sensitive than ever about pretty basic questions about their round or a good shot or a bad shot. And I love when you pull up the stats, and you've not been afraid sometimes to show where they've been lacking during the season and where they're picking it up during the week. And I just think it's really added to the telecast. House, you got something for Amanda?
Yeah, I do. And I want to pick up right off of that idea. I found the cart and the way that it's been used this way and your delivery of it, Amanda, a really helpful part of the telecast because of one of the things that Shaq just said. We're getting some information that wasn't part of the traditional broadcast. We're getting kind of another layer, a sort of analytical layer to the presentation of the player's performance out there that previously, you could find out after a round, but we weren't previously getting it in real time. So here's what I want to hear, Balionis, for this week. Tell us a little bit about the tech setup, if you can, and what you think the presentation is going to look like this week from Turner and from CBS.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be crazy. The Turner and CBS, it's just full court press the entire time, wall-to-wall coverage, both digitally and obviously on television as well. I actually am working with Turner Sports Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just doing their social coverage. Facebook Live, Periscope. We're doing things live on Instagram. Literally anywhere you can think of on digital platforms, they're trying to bring you as much of the, almost pregame coverage as possible, which I think is really great for people to kind of get an idea of how players are feeling, especially with these changes that we've been talking about at Quail Hollow, how certain players are feeling coming off of, maybe they played in the WGC last week, or maybe they had a week off that they've been working on. So giving that access, I think, is always great. And then CBS is just doing so much with their technology. We're doing a 4K telecast for the closing holes for that Green Mile for 16, 17, and 18, which I think it's going to air on DirecTV. But those 4K cameras are just next level, which is going to be awesome. They also had this thing called the ARL Virtual Eye, which I think they had it last year as well, but it's just another use of TrackMan's ball tracing capabilities on tee shots, and they kind of do it within this 3D hole model, which is really cool. And then you have just TrackMan in general. I think there's a new broadcast technology that they're going to be using on all 18 holes, and that uses 3D radar as well. So it's going to track live tee shots and showing like the apex, the ball speed, the distance, and it's all going to be a part of the broadcast. So they're doing, I just think it's so cool. We know, right? We're just so attached to technology and that need of having more information and having it faster every day. And I just think it's a really great balance that CBS and Turner has found of keeping the game, the way that we love watching it at home, but then giving you those options of these added things that you can really see and maybe learn more in a different kind of experience, like with the 4K or with the digital broadcast as well.
Yeah, we had a conference call last week, and Sean McManus, the big man at CBS, rolled this out, and it was it was a little shocking when he mentioned the TrackMan on all 18, and the tech push is really going to be exciting. And we interviewed Tommy Roy earlier this year, and he's not a huge fan of the TrackMan because he thinks that a lot of the information most people really don't find useful or wouldn't know what it is. And I would agree with him, except that I think it looks cool. I think it just makes things look more modern. And I think, that's what you've done with the cart as well. Even if people don't understand what you're talking about with strokes gained, they kind of get a sense that this is a modern kind of cool take on the game.
Yeah, and I hope so. And I think that was part of my goal too. I mean, I worked for the PGA Tour for 5 years before starting this role with CBS and working with Callaway and now with Turner Sports as well. But one of the things was, day in and day out, you were starting to see how much more important the stats were becoming in the game year after year. I mean, from the time I started in 2011, and Geoff, you can probably speak to this as well, I didn't feel like stats were really used all that much.
No.
And then, I mean, you talk now in 2017, and everything is being put in reference to a player's stats, which I think is great. I think it gives a better understanding of how players get to, the top in the world, or what's causing a player to maybe fall back in the standings or on a leaderboard. But my goal was really, how can I make this easily digestible for someone watching at home that maybe hasn't been watching golf their whole life, or maybe doesn't understand these stats? Because I know when strokes gained was first introduced to me, I had no idea what it meant. And it took me a while to really understand it and be able to put it into, in this idea that I could digest and utilize. So that is hopefully part of the goal, is that we're bringing these stats that may be intimidating to some people and make them more easily understood, so that people at home don't feel, overwhelmed or maybe lost by these stats.
Well, I think that's going to provide a very helpful and useful framework for what I'm about to put you on the spot.
Yeah. Translation. He wants some intel. He wants to
I
know
want
who to
some
bet
intel.
on.
This is
Let's
the
get
segue.
right to the point.
Shaq's heard this before. So 2 things, Miss Balionis, 2 things we need from you. In the first place, you told us as we got on the phone together that you just left the golf course. So we need a little bit of intel about how it's playing, how it looks. And we know that there's some rain in the forecast. So we need a little bit of input from you on wow. Look, I learned the hard way to not trust any of these weather reports on Monday. Okay, good. Shaq, I lost every one of those scoring bets in the UK because the great monsoon from the Irish Sea never materialized.
But they were right at Erin Hills, and you cashed on that. So go on.
Anyway. So, Amanda, a little bit about the course, but then we're going to talk about some players that might have your eye on. Obviously, the big names are the big names, but we want to go deep. So first, let's hear a little bit about your experience on the course.
Yeah, I was really just sticking to the range today. I'll be more on the course tomorrow. But from what I heard from the players, I interviewed quite a few of them today. And they all said the same thing. I mean, this course is going to be playing really long. It's already wet. There is a sub-air system on the course, so it is going to drain. But if the weather forecast holds up, which I can tell you from being out there, it felt like it was 100% humidity the entire day. This course is just going to play really long, which plays obviously right into the hands of the big hitters out there, which also plays into the hands of the guys, in my opinion, that played at Bridgestone at Firestone Country Club last week, because they had to pull driver pretty much on 14 possible holes they could have pulled driver. Pretty much every player had to do that if they were going to keep up and stay aggressive. So I think guys that had the ability to hone in on that last week are going to have an advantage this week here at Quail Hollow. In regards to the changes, I don't really think that's going to change anyone's game plan all that much, or a certain style, really, when you talk about player styles. But it is something to be, aware of, because I think when you have new greens, sometimes they can play a little bit more difficult, a little bit firmer than greens that have been settled in for a little bit. So I think that's something to really keep an eye on. And guys that I talked to today seem to think the key is really going to be hitting these fairways. They said putting is just going to be really challenging for everyone. But if you miss those opportunities with driving accuracy and distance off the tee, you're going to be playing at a severe disadvantage.
Well, look, we're not going to make this easy on you. All of the expectations and expert prognostication to date obviously features the big names. We know about Rory and his track record at Quail Hollow and what kind of form he's in. We know how well Ricky's been playing. DJ's performance over the course of the year, unparalleled. Jordan Spieth looking to complete his
that would be the career Grand Slam.
But so those names, I don't want to hear anything about any of those names.
Okay.
Give us 2 or 3 names that we might not be thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have got to put Charlie Hoffman out there. He has just been playing so unbelievably well. And, it's not even so much his game that's been impressing me, which obviously that has. He lost in the playoffs at the RBC Canadian Open, and then he finished third this past week at the WGC Bridgestone. It's absolutely been his mentality after these really disappointing losses. And I think I talked to him after the Masters, when he really felt like he had a chance to win his first major and did not perform the way he wanted. And I talked to him, I believe, the Tuesday afterwards. And he said he was very honest. He was pretty down on himself. He didn't talk the entire time. I mean, he and his family drove from Augusta to Hilton Head, and he said not a word was spoken in that car because he was really that upset. And he was a completely different person after I talked to him just moments after he lost in that playoff to Jonathan Vegas in Toronto. He was pretty upbeat for a guy that, just let another win kind of slip away. He said to me even before his round, he said, you know what, if this isn't my week, that's okay. I'm so confident in my game that I know that there's always next week. And when I talked to him yesterday, after kind of that same feeling, he said he had the same kind of attitude. Just, you know what, my game is where I need it to be, and I feel good, and I feel really great heading into a major championship. And the PGA Championship has not really been a great major for him, but I feel like he is certainly someone to keep an eye on this week. And then let's see, who else could I think of that is not one of those big names that you put out there? I'm hesitant to say this, but Zach Johnson is another one that's been playing so well. He's just not super long off the tee, but he has been so accurate, when it comes to his iron play. His short game has really turned on starting back at the John Deere Classic. And I think that's the kind of guy, if anyone can make it happen on greens that are going to be maybe a little unpredictable, I think he is a guy that could certainly make it happen right now because he's trending in the right direction. And then John Rahm, I talked to earlier today, and he actually went out of his way to say to me, hey, I was driving it really well this weekend. I think I was actually first in driving accuracy. And I love that he knew those stats. And he told me if I can get my iron toned in and my ball striking, really dialed in, he said, I think I have a great chance this week. So I think those are probably 3 guys to keep an eye on.
Well, this is exciting to me.
I have one last thing for Amanda. You interviewed Jordan Spieth. Obviously, we talked earlier in the show about the career Grand Slam and all the things that go into that. What was your sense last week about how? And I'm not saying he didn't try at Firestone, but I just feel like he's really focused on pacing himself better, and that's paying off now. These trips to Cabo, he went fishing in Montana. Was he grinding last week, or was he just performing, but also keeping in mind that he had a quick turnaround to get here to Charlotte and play a major starting Thursday?
Yeah, I think with guys like Jordan, there is no not trying. I think there's 0 or 100.
Yeah.
I think it's coming off of, he said to me, not that I asked him that same thing, but I did ask him how much of last week was focusing on that week and how much were you already kind of preparing for this week. And he said to me off camera and on camera, I was completely focused on this week. I just had a lot of rust to knock off after, you're celebrating winning a major championship. And I would argue that the Open Championship is the hardest to win and then try to continue on that momentum for the rest of the season, because you do need some time to probably mentally rest and physically kind of recuperate. You have the right to celebrate and you should take those moments in. But then to come back and come right into a WGC and then a major, and then you roll right into the playoffs. I mean, that's a grueling stretch for someone who has just reached a really high point, in their career. So I think his point to me was just, I was shaking off some rust. I've been grinding it out, just trying to get everything, kind of back on track after that week off, after winning a major championship. Yeah. So I think he was giving it 100%. I just think that 100% looks different after what he was coming off of.
Thank you. That's good to know, because I'm always fascinated by his energy and just watching how he works. And I've always thought he expends too much, and I love seeing that he's pacing himself. So tell us, remind us again where we're going to see you starting Thursday with TNT, and then as we get into the weekend with CBS.
Yeah, so you can catch me, I believe, starting Thursday morning. I'll be on PGA.com's digital coverage.
Okay.
And then starting Thursday, once TNT goes on air, I will be right there for the post-round interviews Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday, Sunday, I'll be on TNT early coverage and then CBS late coverage all the way until the final putt drop.
Whew, I'm exhausted. It's going to be a busy week. Well, it's awesome. You're doing a great job. You've worked really hard at it. We're thrilled for everything you do, of course, as a media correspondent for Callaway Media Productions, and, of course, for TNT and CBS. House, anything else you want to tell Amanda? Any other picks you want to try to get out of her?
Don't be afraid, Amanda, to send out a little snapshot of whatever that Carolina barbecue looks like. I'm going to be on the West Coast this week, so I'm going to miss out on coming down. I'm not going to be able to sample it myself. Send me a little picture of what that Carolina barbecue looks like.
I can do that, because I've heard that you have an affinity for food. So I'm going to try and keep you proud this week.
Thank you.
All right, Amanda, thanks so much. Have a great PGA week. I'll see you out at the course, and we look forward to what hopefully is an exciting finish that ends on Sunday night.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Well, thank you again, Amanda, for joining us from Quail Hollow, or nearby Quail Hollow, and on what will be a very busy week for her. House. Busy week for me. I'm here for doing my normal duties for Golf Week, for Golf Channel. And of course, we're going to have a Sunday night wrap show. Will I be talking to you from my hometown, Los Angeles, or will you have returned to Washington, D.C. 5 pounds heavier?
Oh, I'm going to be probably 12 pounds heavier. Shaq, you're coming east. I'm going west. We're taking House of Carbs on the road, Shaq.
Beautiful.
Be sure to check Ringer Media at Twitter and at Ringer on Instagram, as well as at House from DC. We're going to be eating all the food that there is to eat in Los Angeles, California, as well as recording a whole slew of podcasts for the rest of the month for House of Carbs. But Shaq, I will be back in DC. We're going to have our wrap-up podcast Sunday night.
Yeah. Hey, you know what else, House? Phil Mickelson. Did you know this is his 100th major start?
I did not know that.
You're going to know it pretty soon, because to celebrate this major milestone, our friends, our sponsors at Callaway, have a site devoted to this mind-boggling accomplishment, which in the modern game, I think really is going to become a very incredible mark of 100 major starts. And so this special site has all sorts of stats, edge of your seat moments, and crazy equipment setups that Phil has used through these 100 major championships. And he has certainly done that. So go to CallawayGolf.com/Phil. That's CallawayGolf.com/Phil, and check it out from our good friends at Callaway. House, I think that's about all we got for this preview episode of the PGA. Are you going to tweet a few picks on Wednesday night, or will you be too busy gorging?
As is my way, I'll tweet out some of the way I'm going to allocate some capital for this PGA Championship.
Beautiful.
I don't want to I know it feels slightly disrespectful to have not mentioned Phil.
Well, maybe we've done him a favor.
He's overdue for a ShackHouse bounce on the Ringer Podcast Network. We'll see you Sunday. Podcast pals, make sure to watch The Ringer's new live reaction show, Talk the Thrones. Each week, Andy Greenwald, Mother of Dragons Mallory Rubin, Chris Ryan, and our very own Maester, Jason Concepcion, are coming to you live after the East Coast airings of Game of Thrones Season 7. Talk the Thrones will stream exclusively on Twitter and Periscope right after each episode ends and can be found on the Ringer's Twitter handle @Ringer. They will be reacting at the same time as you, contextualizing the events and explaining everything that just unfolded. Again, the show is called Talk the Thrones, and you can stream it live after the East Coast airings of Game of Thrones Season 7 on the Ringer Twitter and Periscope @Ringer.